Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to what I am calling How to Fix Game of Thrones Season 8. So, to lay some ground rules, I'm going to stick to all the main plot points that Season 8 had. I am going to stick to the same budget. I'm not going to add anything crazy to this season. I'm actually going to cut some things out to save some budget. And each episode is going to be over an hour long, with most of them being an hour and a half, and the finale I'm going to shoot, I suggest it probably be about 2 hours. Okay? My thesis is that Season 8 could have been great with just a little more thought. They can keep the 6 episodes. It wouldn't feel rushed if they just made a couple different decisions about why characters did certain things they did. So, this episode of my show, How to Fix Season 8, is going to be about Episode 1 of Season 8. I'm going to title that episode Winterfell, the same title that Episode 1 of the real Season 8 had. I'm going to have the runtime going to be 90 minutes. And the budget will be a little less than Episode 1 of the real Season 8. So what I'm going to do is I think Episode 1 should have been the first 2 episodes of the real season put together. You cut some of the redundant stuff out that happened in Episode 2, and you just have all the same great character moments in Episode 1 and 2 of Season 8. They need to be combined into one episode. Also, someone that fought the White Walkers has to say, that hiding in the crypt could be a bad idea because the Night King can raise the dead. Now, when they say that, someone else needs to dismiss this idea because they have to take their chances with the crypt because there's no other way or no other place to put those that can't fight. Someone needs to acknowledge that putting people in the crypt is a bad idea. But we do need people to go hide in the crypt because the scene in the crypt is important, and it will still be important to the season that I am putting together. So we just need someone to say, we can't put people anywhere else. The crypt is the safest of the places we have, and we just have to take our chances that the people in the crypt have been dead too long to be raised by the Night King. And that should fix that issue. Also, I want Jaime and Brienne to not have sex with each other. They don't need to be physically involved or sexually involved. Jaime knights Brienne. That is a sweet moment. That is the culmination of their stories together. We don't need them to have sex with each other. I think that takes away from Brienne's character. And I think that takes away from Jaime's character. They have a strong, passionate, platonic relationship with each other. They care about each other probably more than Brienne cares about anyone else. And at this point in Jaime's life, more than he cares about anyone else as well. So the runtime... Oh, also, this episode is going to end with the White Walkers on Winterfell's doorstep. So what we're going to do, just to recap, this episode, Episode 1, which we're going to title Winterfell, taking the same title that Episode 1 the real Season 8 had, is going to run about 90 minutes because we're going to take the 45 to 50 minute Episode 1 and 45 to 50 minute Episode 2, put them together, and cut some of the redundant stuff out of Episode 2. It'll be a good hour and a half set up for what is about to come. And the budget, I think, for this episode will be a little less because we're going to cut some of the redundant bits out of Episode 2. So, now on to the second episode in my remade Season 8 of Game of Thrones. We're going to call it The Long Night. We're going to take the name of Episode 3 of the original Season 8, and we're going to take Episode 2 of my remade Season 8 and name it that. It's going to be Episode 2, The Long Night. The runtime of this episode is going to be about 70 minutes, and the budget is going to be on par with what it was for the Long Night episode. The first thing you got to do for this episode is reshoot with better lighting. The Long Night battle needs better lighting, less quick cuts, and no showing characters almost dying 4 or 5 times each. Keep everything that happened up to the 45-minute mark in the Long Night episode. And add some other things to it. So, the first thing we're going to add is we're going to show the Dothraki fighting the Whites for about 5 to 10 minutes or so, and also show Ghost doing something during that fight. Then you can cut to Dany and Jon up on the hill they were standing on, and they can watch the Dothraki swords go out. I think the Dothraki swords going out is a cool way to show that a lot of the Dothraki are dying, but we do need to see them actually fight the Whites some. Also, they should have launched those trebuchets before the Dothraki charged, so the Dothraki could see what they're charging into. Okay? And now, the end of my second episode, it would end with the Night King showing up on his dragon. To save some budget in this episode, I feel like we should cut out some of the dragon flying that Jon and Dany do. It's hard to keep up with them. It's hard to see who's on the dragons. Even if you shot it with better lighting, I feel like that would get confusing a little bit. And those CGI dragons cannot be cheap to produce just to show them flying around and scoping out the battlefield. So let's take that budget from those CGI dragons and put it into the Dothraki fighting. And like I said before, the one time should be about 65 to 70 minutes. Because we're going to cut the last half of episode 3 of the original series out, so it's about 45 minutes. And then we're going to add the Dothraki fight in, and Ghost, and maybe some more tension-filled moments in the beginning to help round it out to a good hour and 10-minute episode. And now comes episode 3, which is the second part of the battle against the Night King. Episode 3, I would title Ice and Fire. The runtime of this episode would also be 70 minutes, just like episode 2. And the budget for this episode is going to be a little more than the episode 3 was in the original series. So, we need to shoot this episode the same way I suggested episode 2 be shot. You know, better lighting, less quick cuts, don't show the characters die 4 or 5 times each. And then everything can happen pretty much the same from the original 3rd episode up until when Jon gets trapped by Viserion. And now here comes the biggest change I would have made to Season 8 so far. When Jon gets trapped by Viserion, have Bran warg into Rhaegal, and have Rhaegal save Jon from Viserion. Have Rhaegal kill Viserion, do it real quick, they don't need this epic battle, you know, save on budget, but have Rhaegal swoop in, like, hit Viserion, kill him real quick, save Jon, you know, Bran's warged into Rhaegal, like I said. And then, when Jon gets on Rhaegal, show that Bran passes out because it takes everything he has to walk into the dragon. So Jon is actually controlling the real Rhaegal now. And Jon flies Rhaegal to the Godswood and kills all of the Whites and generals that are behind the Night King. So it's just Jon and the Night King. Then Jon gets off of Rhaegal and fights the Night King, you know, hand-to-hand combat, so they're both fighting with swords. But the Night King starts to get the upper hand on Jon. And Jon cannot beat the Night King in one-on-one combat. This is when Arya can come in. She doesn't need to jump out of the air or anything, but she can just rush in from, like, the shadows or something. You know, maybe show that she's been watching this battle, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, and then she can still kill the Night King. That's fine. That's the first major point that I would keep. We just need to do it a different way. Jon should have fought the Night King. I think we could... This scenario that I just laid out, I think, does a bunch of things that we need in the show. We need to see Bran do something. Warging into Rhaegal is a cool thing for Bran to do. It shows that he has some ability. You know, he does something in this battle and just sit there. Okay, then Jon can fight the Night King, which is pretty much the culmination of his major story arc. And then Arya can still kill the Night King, because that, you know, subverts people's expectations, but in a good way, not like the shitty way that, like, The Last Jedi, or I feel like Game of Thrones ended up doing. We can have Arya kill the Night King, okay? And Bran going into a coma after warging into Rhaegal is important to explain why Bran did not warg into Drogon when Dany is burning King's Landing. Okay, I think that explains why. It helps explain a plot hole that could happen with Bran warging into Rhaegal. And also, the battle against the Night King should have taken more lives, and I suggest the following people should have died in my episodes 2 and 3. So I think Tormund should have died. Tormund needs to die fighting the giant that killed Lyanna Mormont. Except Lyanna should have died when the dragon just smacked her. That should have been her death. And then Tormund should have ran in and killed the giant, but also died while killing the giant. Tormund's not needed for the rest of the show. Season 8, he does nothing after this. So, he needs to die fighting the giant. He's the giant's bane. I think it's a nice send-off for Tormund. You know, it just feels right to me for Tormund to die there. And then Podrick and Gendry need to go into the crypt when they hear people screaming once the people in the crypt become reanimated. Podrick goes in, and he dies saving Tyrion from a white. And then Gendry needs to also go in and die trying to save people in the crypt. If Gendry dies, we also don't get that weird sex scene between him and Arya, which it just felt so wrong to me to see Arya do that. Because, you know, she's been like the little sister, this little, you know, it just feels weird for her to strip. I mean, that's probably just my problem, but she just feels like a little sister that you don't want to see, you know, take her clothes off. It felt weird. And then finally, Brienne needs to die saving Jaime. I felt like it's a perfect end to her story. Jaime knighted her. That's the end of her story, is her becoming a knight. So she needs to die saving Jaime, and I also think that helps drive home the relationship that they have. So the addition of Jon's stuff would add budget to this episode, but I think the death of the four main actors, so Tormund, Podrick, Gendry, and Brienne, will save money over the next 3 episodes. But because this Jon stuff I feel like could probably get expensive, I think the budget for this episode would be a little more. And then Jon's new scenes and the scenes for the deaths of the main characters would add, I think, 15 to 20 minutes onto the 40 minutes that we are taking from episode 3. So this episode should be about 65 to 70 minutes as well. So, thank you all for watching this first part. I'm going to go ahead and record a second part, probably post that tomorrow for my episodes 4, 5, and 6. Comment below what you think, like, subscribe, share if you like this video. I'm going to check in the comments and talk with people, you know, see what they think, maybe explain why I made some decisions, because I think that's a big problem with what Season 8 did, is the explanations that D&D gave for why they did things are just so inadequate. And I feel like if they could have at least explained why they did some things in a reasonable manner, then that would have saved a bunch. That would have gave them a bunch more credit and like a leg to stand on. But their explanations are a major part of why Season 8, I think, falls short. So, again, comment. I'll be sure to get in there and discuss with you guys. That interaction would be great. And I'll see you in the next video, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you.